Satan is being released with Iesus from the bottomless pit. The revelation of John and the visions of the scenes from the trumpets and the deaths from the wars, and the death from the woes and from the crises and the plagues in the earth. Friend, this message is a continuation of my previous message, which is called, The Revelation of the Trumpets and the Woes and the Wars, in the World. Revelation 9:1, And the fifth angel sounded, his trumpet, and I John saw a star which came crashing down from out of the air and into the earth, and it sent hellfire down upon the people in a certain region in the world, and it cast dust and debris upon things that was in that region in the earth. And it was driven deep into the earth. And it had the keys to the bottomless pit. And it opened up the bottomless pit. Revelation 9:2, And the bottomless pit was opened. And Satan came out of it, and then as Satan came out of the pit, then there arose a thick black smoke, from out of the pit, like the plumes of smoke coming from a billowing great furnace, and the skies were darkened, by the reason of the black smoke, when Satan came up from out of the pit with Iesus, whom is better known as Judas Jesuit Jesus, who was inbounded there for 1,000 years. And the air was blackened by the smoke. And the sun and the sunlight was blocked out, and the skies was darkened. Revelation 9:3, And as I John looked on, I saw what looked like many locusts and also many scorpions, and they all looked great, and they were all powered, and power was given to them, and they were many, and they caused many deaths. And many people died from the hell fire, and the fire which was fired from them. And the fire which came from out of the mouths of the locusts and the scorpions, and which were driven by the men who were siding in them, and which cast hell fire upon the people them and upon the men in the earth. And also the same power was given to the loosed falling stars, which were also called the four loosed evil angels, which were released from the bottom of the Euphrates river. And all these were given to the people in the earth and were made for them. And they were powered to kill the men in the earth. And they were either driven or sent by men, and they were given the power to destroy men, and they were driven or flown, and they were powered or operated by men, or they were unmanned. And they were being used by the men of war in the earth. Revelation 9:4, And the men of war was commanding them, so that they should not hurt the grass or the population of the earth, and neither anything green or anything that was eaten or of that which is used for crops, and neither any trees, but only those men who didn't have the seal of Elu, the Son, whom is the sovereign one, whom is the King of all the heavens and the earth, and whom is also called Elu'hymn, and whom had seal all those who are his, with seal in their foreheads. But those who were for old God, they did not have the seal of Elu'hymn. And they were, all reserved for Satan, and whom were for Satan. And they were marked for death, and they were being killed. Revelation 9:5, And all those who were driving them, they too were being killed. And also all those who were driving them, that they should be tormented for about a space of 5 months, and their torment was from the scorpions and from the locusts, which were being used to kill and to torment one another in combat, and they were being sent even to kill and to torment those who were sitting in them, and even those who were in command, and even those who were driving them or commanding them, and even those who were in command of the locusts, when they would strike one another, and also those who were manning them, even so that they would die. Revelation 9:6, And in those days men shall seek to avoid death, so as not to be killed. But death shall still find them, and death shall kill them, and men shall desire not to kill one another, but they themselves shall not be able to avoid death. And death shall find them wherever they are, even if they were trying to flee from the locusts and the scorpions them. Revelation 9:7, And the shapes of the locusts looked like horses which were prepared for battle, and on the top of the crown of their heads there were iron plates, and it looked as if they were crowned with a gold plate, and they were all breastplated. And the scorpion them faced off against one another. And the scorpions were against the locusts, which were all driven, as if by an invisible man, and they face off man to man. Revelation 9:8, And they fire and aired fire at one another, as they fire on one another, as they face off with one another and with their fire. And their teeth were as fierce as the teeth of lions. Revelation 9:9, And they had plates, as if it were breastplated with iron, and the sound of their wings made a sound like clinging iron, and as the noise that sounded like the sound of many chariots that were drawn by many horses, and as they were running to battle and against one another. Revelation 9:10, and they had fire in their mouth, which looked like it was coming from their tails, and it looked like their tails, was used to fight, and they were used for fighting one another. And even the locusts they were used for fighting in flight. And they were used to kill, and the sting of death was within their tails, and they were powered. And they were commanded, and their mission were to hurt men and to kill them with hell fire for years and for months. Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, whom was the angel of the bottomless pit, and whose name in the Hebrew's tongue is Abaddon, but whose name in the Greek and the Arabic tongue is called Shaitan, and whom is also called the Destroyer, which is the name of the angel of death whom came out of the bottomless pit, with Iesus. And whose had a name which was being called after Apollyon, and whom is also called Satan and Iblis. Revelation 9:12, and whom is also called the Destroyer and the Evil One, whom have a name which is called the Serpent of old and also Old God, and whom was also called Satan, and who was the one that was behind these world wars. And whom was behind World War I, and World War II, and all the woes and the killings and the plagues in the world. And now one war has now passed, and now war two, and behold there are coming more wars, and also their woes, and more woes hereafter. Revelation 9:13, and the sixth angel of sounded, E's trumpet. And I heard E's voice coming from out of E's throne and from out of E's branches of E's horns of power. And from E's golden altar, which is before the throne of Elu'hymn. The odd. Revelation 9:14, and Elu'hymn was saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet to let loose the four angels which are bounded in the great river in the Euphrates. Which I have interpreted to mean, the setting off or the letting loose or the loosing of four intercontinental ballistic missiles or ICBMs. Revelation 9:15, and then the four angels or the four ICBMs were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, and which were to slay the third part of the men of war which are left in the world. Revelation 9:16, and the number of the armies of the horsemen were 200,000, and I John heard the number of the army men them, as the number was being called out. Revelation 9:17, and thus did I John saw the horses in the vision, and them that were sitting in or on them. And also all those who were driving or flying them, or were in them. And also of all those which were carrying armor on them or were transporting them, and all those with their armor that were on standby, and all those which were breastplated, and those which were made from iron, and all those which were capable of firing fire, and also those which had on their weapons and also which were with their teeth of fire, and also all those which can set off fire and those which can send off evil jacinth or reddish sparkling evil fire or an instantaneous fire and also an explosive or combustible brimstone fire. And the number of all the heads of the armies and the armed men with their horsemen and with their horses which were as fierce as the heads and the king which were as fierce as lions. And which were issuing fire from out of their mouths, and those which were issuing fire, and smoke, and brimstone and fire. Revelation 9:18, and by all these weapons were the three major things that the third part of the men in the earth were being killed by. And they were killed by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone fire, which was issued from out of their mouths. Revelation 9:19, because their power were in their mouths, and in their tails, and their tails, were as it were like a fighting serpent and a serpent with many tails and heads. But these serpents, they had many heads, and with many tails on them. And with them they do kill and they can do a lot of hurt, and they can even wound many, and even many of the people in the earth, and they can even kill them. Revelation 9:20, and the rest of the men which were not killed by the fire from the scorpions and the locust them, and from the falling of the flaming star, and also from the loosing of the four evil angels or the four ICBMs which came from the Euphrates, and which also was used to destroy things in the earth, and also from the untold amount of death which was caused by the 7 viral plagues and the other plagues in the world. And they did not repent of their evil works, not from the evil their evil ways and from the worshipping of God and Jesus, and from idol worship of the other gods which were made by their own hands. And neither did they turn away from worshipping their idols which they made, so that they could continue on with their worship of Satan, whom is also called Old God, and whom is also called the Old Dragon. And also the evil one who is called Baal God, and whom is called the Devil, and whom is also called Yeshua, and Jesus and Gesu and Ihs. And his idols them, which were made from gold, and silver, and from brass, and from stones and from wood. And also from all those things which were made from iron and clay. And which can see and those which cannot do either. Nor of those things which cannot see, nor hear, nor those things which can, and those things which can and the things which can walk and those things which can and which cannot talk and those things which can and which cannot walk. Revelation 9:21, and neither did they repented of their murders, and of their sorceries, and their idolomancy, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. Friends, this was a vivid and realistic interpretation of the trumpets and the woes from the book of Revelation. And which was an update version of the visions of John. The end. To be continued. Friend, please visit my message which is called, The Beast of Babylon is Revealed. Thank you.